Yeah, thank you, Carter. Watching the film of the Florida State game, again, just very impressed with our effort. I thought we were relentless all night. As I suggested after the game Saturday evening, it was really the critical situations that made the score look the way that it did. Possession downs and red zone. We were dominant in possession downs. They couldn't get us off the field on third down. And then if we had some third and long, sometimes we were smart, giving us some fourth down and manageables in a part of the field where we could go for it. And that was running the ball, throwing the ball, different guys making plays, just a total team effort on the possession downs. And then red zone. Offensively, we got in the red zone 6 times. We scored 5 touchdowns. The only field goal was right before half, really when we ran out of time. And then they got in our red zone 4 times and only came away with 10 points, 2 empty possessions. And I thought holding them to the field goal on the first drive was so important. And that's, and that's winning football on both sides. And so, again, proud of our guys. We gave the team off yesterday other than a COVID test and checking into treatment. And this morning we came in and reviewed the film and got a lift, put all that behind us. And, for 3 weeks into the season, we are about as healthy as you can be. Obviously, there's some bumps and bruises along the way that this week will be valuable to get our guys rested up into the next sort of little 3-game run in our schedule before our following bye. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Great. Thanks, Coach. We will start with David Furones from the Sun Sentinel. David, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. In a game where you were able to get so many true freshmen into the game late in fourth quarter and all, who really impressed you reviewing film and off that performance?
Let's see. It was great to get some guys in there. You talk about Chance Williams being able to get in there. Obviously, we got Elijah Roberts in there. Quentin Williams made a play down there in the red zone. Isaiah Dunson and Brian Balaam got a lot of reps in the secondary, which is really important for them. Jalen Harrell had a nice tackle. I think we had 30 guys had a tackle or assist in the game, which I don't know if I've ever heard of that before. That's really quite a remarkable stat. And even offensively, getting Jalen Rivers a couple at bats. So just good to get all of our young guys. And then again, though, Mike Redding in the first half makes a tightly contested catch on 1-to-1 man coverage, like on a 3rd and 5. So it was good to see all of our freshmen out there contributing.
Great. Next, we'll go to Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny, go ahead.
Hey, man, I got 2 kind of how do you make the donuts question. First one is the offense, lining up quickly and running the next play. How much of that is do you give them maybe 2 or 3 plays, at the start of the drive where, it's sort of like pre-planned, hey, we're gonna run this right after this play, or how does that sort of work with you guys, to get lined up so quickly and run the play?
No, every play lives in its own little planet. So the guys just have to do a phenomenal job of, once the play ends, of letting that play go, getting the signal, getting lined up as fast as they can, and then as soon as we're ready to go, run it.
And then the second one, analytics, you've talked about that before. I know you study a bunch of numbers. I'm curious as to, do you guys sign up for a bunch of these services like Pro Football Focus and Football Outsiders, all that kind of stuff? And I guess who kind of organizes all that analytical research for you guys?
We don't have one person per se that organizes it. We don't sort of have a data coordinator, but we do subscribe to a couple different services, different than sometimes the way that they present, I guess, to the public. In some ways it helps us in terms of scouting film. Obviously, we use a lot of data involved in that. We do data. We subscribe to a service that helps in terms of game day decision making, understanding down distance management, timeout management, all those type of things. So yeah, anyone who's got numbers, we usually try to look at what we can do to help us, and in addition to the things we do on the inside, just in terms of our scouting of ourselves and our opposition.
Thanks.
Okay, next up we'll go to David Lake from 24/7. David, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, wanted to get your take on the idea of just identity, I guess, in general, and how important it is, either side, but particularly this season with offense. Do you feel like it's important for an offense to have an identity? It seems like each week the offense is getting more and more confident, and it seems like they are kind of growing into an identity. Again, I understand it's only been 3 games, but do you think that's fair to say that this year's offense is kind of establishing an identity.
Absolutely. And you can say that after 3 games. I thought the first game defensively in 2016 against FAMU, we were playing FAMU, but I thought we established an identity of what we were trying to see ourselves as defensively. So, I mean, obviously playing fast and playing physical is what we want to do. And I think that's why that UAB game was very important in terms of how fast and how physical that we could play. And now, to your point, I do think we're getting more confidence, not just in terms of having results that make us feel better about ourselves, but just from a conditioning level, and understanding you have to be able to believe that you can put yourself through some things offensively to be as relentless as we are. And ultimately what you're doing is you're taking the defense to a place of discomfort that they're not used to. So I think our guys are getting a better hang of it. And, I thought they saw it Saturday night, that you have the ability. I think and especially when we can stay on the field, and that's as the efficiency grows. I mean, a 13-play drive, I think we had an 18-play drive. That's a lot of body blows that you're landing to that opposition. So, like you said, I mean, it's early, but in terms of at least seeing what it's supposed to look like, I think we've accomplished that.
We'll stick with 24/7 Sports and next go to Gabby Urrutia. Gabby, go ahead.
Hey, Manny. So obviously, like you guys are on the road recruiting and things like that. So I mean, obviously, you guys can't do that. So is there anything special you guys have planned with Zooms or anything just in recruiting in general that you guys have kind of planned out just since you guys can't get out anywhere?
Yeah, if I heard your question right, recruiting has been what it's been really since early on in the pandemic. It's all been through digital communication, talk to you on the phone, Zooms, FaceTimes, text message, all those type of things. So it's been a different year because there's different, like for example, you used to have one phone call a week and some of those things have gone away. Obviously you can't have the unofficial visit or the official visit right now, but as a staff, we're still making daily connections with all of our targets.
Next, we'll go to Gary Furman with Kingsport. Gary, go ahead. All right, well, we'll wait on Gary. David Wilson from the Miami Herald. Do you have a question for Coach Diaz?
Hey, Manny. You touched on it a little bit at the top, talking about the freshmen, but just to have Chaney, Knighton, and you mentioned Mike Redding had a big catch in the first quarter. Obviously, had a touchdown later in the game too. This freshman class does seem pretty far along pretty quickly, and especially given the fact that they did not have a traditional spring. I don't know. Is it something you think that's different about this class, or maybe different about the leadership in the last couple of years that is kind of letting you guys really lean pretty heavily on a bunch of true freshmen on offense?
I think both. This class has something to it. I feel like I've been saying that, and you want to be true as the games come, but it's turning out to be true. And we still have, Dave Philly still does this, 545 developmental lift with all the new guys, and you can just really tell how they are when they work when no one's watching. I mean, you can see the talent on the field, but really who you are, gets tested in that weight room every week. And all the reports come back. These guys are just different, and they want to work. They want to be great. We saw that when they stuck with us, during some of the dark moments we had last fall. And as I've gotten here, they've been who we thought they were, and it's been fun to watch those guys develop and grow. And that's what it's all about, right? It's about adding like-minded people to your program that fit the culture of what you want to build. And then I do think they're benefiting from better older leadership than what we've had in the past. So it's been fun to watch those guys. Those guys are really they're really fun to be around.
Yeah, we're going to try Gary Furman again. Gary, you there?
Yeah, sorry about that, Carter. The mic didn't unmute. Manny, you had the opportunity in 2017 to see up close exactly what going to play Clemson means with their program being where it is right now. You've accomplished so much in these last 9 months. Do you feel, better equipped? Do you feel that you're going up there from a position of strength and just what's the mental approach to this game?
Well, we're still a ways out in terms of even getting them scouted and seeing who they really are. Obviously that night in Charlotte was one of our best nights. it felt like they were just playing a game and we were playing the occasion. You could just tell by the way we were reacting in the first, 7 to 8 minutes of the game. And so I think that's part of it. Look, they have earned the right to be where they are right now, and they earned it by getting themselves into some of these type of games and losing them and learning from it and passing that knowledge down from class to class. So there's something to be said about that. But, we can talk more about them, next week as we really get into studying them. But I think that's ultimately what in our league, we know that we're all measuring ourselves by how we stack up against those guys.
Great. Next, we'll go to Tom D'Angelo with the Palm Beach Post. Tom, go ahead.
Hey, Manny, you mentioned after the game Saturday about the biggest opponent this week, before Clemson becomes your opponent next week. How much more? I mean, I know you're very, very proud, and you've said a lot about how well these guys have done getting through this and getting to this point. How much more is it? I don't know. I don't know if concern's the right word, but just a little more anxiety or concern, or just having to be more aware because it's kind of a week where they're away for football a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, look, we all love routine and we all love structure, and we'll still have a lot of that this week, but there will be a little bit more idle time, and then not to mention, by the way, if you look at where the state's going, the numbers are going down, but we're easing restrictions too, right? And no one really knows how that's gonna go. What we told our team today is, we've been at this since June 15, and December 5th is basically just over 9.5 weeks away. And for 9.5 weeks, that's kind of the story. No matter what it looks like right now, the story is going to be written over the 9.5 weeks. And that will determine what happens next after that day. And man, it seems like it's worth it for 9.5 weeks, right? Because we've made the right decisions for a much longer period of time, if you think about it. So for 9.5 weeks, can we continue to control what we can control and make the proper decisions when we're not in this building? And but at the end of the day, it comes down to trust, and I trust our guys to do right and to protect the team.
And if I could, one more, you heard, Carter said at the start, you're number 8. There's a lot. I think you're for the third week out of 4. You're going to be forever. You're going to be on national TV, 7:30 ABC again. How do you keep them grounded?
Well, you focus on what's real, and you focus on our tape, which is, there are plenty of things that we have to get much, much better at, regardless of whether we're playing Clemson or anybody else. We're probably going into a run the next 3 games of playing. There's a lot of really good defensive coaches in this league, but the next 3, when you go Venables, Narduzzi, and Virginia with Mendenhall, I mean, those are 3 guys that know how to build a defense. So just the challenges that are ahead, you can't sit there and we didn't sit around and say we're going to be defined by what happened to our past a year ago. Well, we can't sit around and say we're going to be defined by our past by what's happened the last 3 weeks. And we've done a good job of that in our film study. We know the things that we've got to improve on while we're winning, and that's really what good teams do. They don't wait for the pain of defeat to be the motivation to try to correct some mistakes.
Thank you. You watching the NBA Finals?
Of course, man. How can you not?
Thanks.
Okay, we got time for one last question, and we'll go to Ralph Russo from the Associated Press. Ralph, go ahead.
Hey, Manny. I got a question more along the lines of COVID protocols, and that is, if you have a if you have a player who's in quarantine at any point, maybe even during the summer or workouts, what can you do to help that kid stay in shape? In other words, as opposed, you can't necessarily have them around the team, but do you guys have a plan for, okay, if we end up with a few kids in quarantine, how do we keep them working so when they do come back in 14 days, they're not, they haven't just been sitting on the couch?
And I assume you're saying in quarantine as they're in contact tracing?
Yeah, right. Not that they've tested positive, but they're just through contact tracing.
Yeah, that's really one of the most difficult things there is, because they are really, by the rules set forth by the CDC, they're supposed to stay in isolation, in wherever they live. So there's not a whole bunch of things that we can do in terms of trying to control that and give them some type of routine. some of the guys that we've had. And by the way, just, the rules on that have changed since the summer. The recommendations have changed on that since the summer. So the 14 days behave a little bit differently now than they did back in July and maybe even early August. So not a whole lot you can do, and I think that makes it difficult on those guys because it's tough to get a guy, after 14 days and just say, okay, good, you're ready to go back into a football game from a conditioning level. And so it's just something, it's a part of what we have to monitor and the adjustments we have to make, given 2020.
Thanks, Manny.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Coach. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and we'll be in touch later this week.
Okay. Thank you all.